Welcome back to the Replayer Podcast, everybody. My name is Pagan, your host for this brand new recap episode of 2021. And joining me is my lovely co-host, Dan.
Why, hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Well, hello, Dan. Hello.
Hello.
How was your New Year's, firstly? Like, how did everything go?
Oh, New Year's was pretty good. Obviously, we're in quarantine still, but we did do like a Zoom New Year's with some of the replayers and just kind of
Oh,
hung out on Zoom and had a few drinks, a few laughs, and it was good. Good
that's
times.
good.
Making
It's
the
kind of
most
nice
of
that you
it.
could, yeah, you could still get together with everybody over Zoom.
hmm
Um, we had more of like a quiet. It was just myself and Adam and the cat.
Yeah,
Very nice.
the
We were
cat.
watching something about Lord of the Rings, I'm pretty sure. Um, yeah, so it was a nice, quiet New Year's.
Yeah, I'm sure most people's New Year's was quiet for the
Yeah,
most part.
yeah. Oh well, what can you do? I think like I would rather have a quiet New Year's and then like be able to go traveling or something like that, like later on in the
Mm,
year, than have
hopefully.
like everybody get COVID. Although I will say, we didn't go into lockdown until the 20th or the 30th of December. So we went into like a full blown lockdown 2 days before the New Year's Eve, and now we have like the highest cases we've ever had of COVID in
Mm,
Ireland because of the backlash of being like out of lockdown for the 3 weeks into Christmas.
hmm
And we were in like a level 3 lockdown, so you could only meet certain people type thing. So that was great crack. But
But
other than COVID, which is what 2019/2020 gave us, we did have a wonderful year of retro replay,
we did
and
have a
we had
wonderful
missed
year.
we sure did. The very last episode, we actually didn't do an episode of our
hmm
podcast on, which was their Christmas special with Sean
Yeah.
Astin, that we could touch on briefly today. I thought that was freaking cool episode. I've
Oh
got to
my
lie.
God. It was so good.
Nolan became a Goonie.
It's right. Oh my God. It was like that alone was probably like one of the coolest moments of the year. Just
Right?
because who doesn't want to be a Goonie? From
I
Sean Astin.
Yeah, I was so like, and I like you could see Nolan was quite touched by it
Like
as
he
well,
was
and like a
like
little bit of emotional.
you
Oh,
could see him
I
actually
know.
kind of like a little choked up and just like his eyes got a little bit of a glaze to him.
I was getting choked up when I was watching it. I was like, "Oh my god, this is really cute! Like, I love this." Um, and then like it just didn't seem to like show up anywhere on the internet, and I was like, "Has
Mm,
nobody recognized this is cool?"
yeah.
Yeah, so that was a really cool episode as well. And then they got some special, very exclusive new photos from Uncharted, the movie, from
hmm
Sony. So thank you, Sony Movies, for exclusively partnering essentially with Retro Replay to release those content. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
It was
And Drew's
two
deep
new
dive.
photos they showed off, right? Yeah, two new
Yeah,
photos. We got Drew's new theories, which were actually really cool. I'm looking forward to getting into that.
yeah. I think it's really interesting. I think like I'm very excited, and the more that they release stuff on Retro Replay, the more excited I am. And the
Mm.
fact that they have, chosen to like essentially like help Retro Replay because Nolan is Nathan Drake,
Oh yeah.
um, is just such a cool thing. Like I'm such a like I geek out about it. I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah, I was thinking about
Um,
that rewatching that episode too, as far as like the fact that Sony would give Nolan North, the guy who portrayed Nathan Drake, which is like as far as like how important he is to that franchise. Like yes, he made Nathan Drake a character. He is what made Nathan Drake who he is, but still Uncharted is so much more than that.
yeah,
And the fact that Sony would give them anything as far as exclusive insight into this new project, being the movie coming out, is just that's really awesome. And just I can't imagine what did Drew have to do. I wonder.
what did Nolan have to do? But I actually think like that's what makes me more excited for the project is clearly they value Nolan,
His input,
and
yeah.
who he is and how he built Nathan Drake as a character. So I feel
Mm,
like if you have that much care and attention for a character that you're basing your film off of, I have more faith in that movie.
hmm
So yeah, I'm very excited. I think this is like a really cool episode, and it was great to get it like just on Christmas Eve, like a little Christmas, present for us all, to have and learn about the Christmas traditions around the world, which is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
those
Yeah,
little fun facts that we got to hear
Those
about.
fun facts. Honestly, the pooping log was hilarious because Nolan was like, "Have we fact checked Pagan on this? Because I don't know if
Yeah.
this is real." That's
So
real, Nolan. I've had people in the YouTube comments confirm as well. So just so everybody's okay, that's totally real.
so it's basically a
Um,
pinata that you put like fresh food in.
no, not at all. You would think, but
That's what it
no.
sounded
It is an
like.
actual log.
Mm-hmm.
It's an actual like tree log that they put a face on with like, like beads or something like you can actually make a
Okay,
face
like they
out of
do
it.
like arts and craft kind of thing.
Yeah, and if I can send you a photo, like you can insert it here.
Yeah.
But for like our viewers on YouTube rather than the listeners. But if you like, it's a tree log that they've put a face on, right? And then all of their treats are like spread out behind them and then covered in a blanket. It's just sort of like, I guess to ruse the kids, I guess,
Okay.
so that they go over, beat the log with six, and sing their song about beating it with six and
Yeah.
hope they poop good. And then they like unveil the treats, and it's because it's come from this log, and it's because they've beat it
Oh.
with a stick and stuff. So yeah, so there's like a video and everything on YouTube because
I
I was
mean,
like, this can't be real, and I had to Google it.
colon health is
Um,
important, so you got to beat that
right?
poop out.
Exactly. So that was cool. I really enjoyed doing some of the notes for that and some of the research for that because that was really interesting to learn about from other places in the world.
Speaking of
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
we have the Krampus, which I only know of through the name of that movie. I didn't know it was like an actual thing from a part of the world that believed in the like polar opposite of Santa Claus, that like if you were bad, this
Yeah.
monster is gonna come and kill you.
Yeah. This is an Austrian tradition.
Hmm.
And that was strange because I also know about that movie. That's a horror movie, right?
Yeah.
Krampus. Um, and this is clearly based on like a real tradition that if you're
Oh.
bad things that happen and Krampus is going to take you away. Um, so yeah, I mean, listen, if there was ever incentive to give to your children, it's that.
I mean, I've read German fairy tales as a kid, but I never heard about the Austrian Krampus.
Oh, there we go.
Because if you
See,
don't
this
know,
is what's great about our retro replay lately. You just learn a whole bunch of new things.
Hmm,
Like stuff happens all around the world, and now we're getting to find out through their new format.
yeah,
Yeah.
all these fun
S-
facts.
all of these beautiful facts. So speaking of new format, obviously there was a massive change to the way retro replay was run last year. So
Mm.
let's do a quick recap
Oh,
on that
absolutely.
and have a chat about level 3.
Let's do it.
Um,
I would say,
let's do it. I
um,
feel like we have to start with like the
well,
big one.
refresh my memory. What happened
Okay.
first?
I think lockdown happened first because they
Yes.
released the two like forgotten footage episodes, remember?
Right. We got the Black Tiger episode that was a
Right.
lost episode from season 1 because they were trying to make new content for us without being in the studio. And Troy was
Yes.
still present at that time.
Yes, that's right. And then once they announced Troy's departure from the
Hmm.
show, they then did like an immediate follow up, I think the week after with Nolan, and that was from his house in quarantine. So
Hmm.
must have just been the very beginning stages of COVID quarantines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like, I mean, obviously Troy's departure is a big thing
But
for a
yeah,
lot of people that were watching the show.
Troy's definitely a
Um,
big part of it because,
yeah,
I mean, he was, as far as we knew then, 50% of the show. You know?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think, not that he was 100%. I agree with you 100%. Um,
100% Pagan.
catchphrase. Yeah.
Good to
No,
be
I would
back.
agree. I think like with viewers and stuff like that, I think it was very clear that you could see that there was clearly a Troy fan base, a Nolan fan base, and then a retro replay fan base.
For
And I
sure.
think you could see those clear divides even in live chats and communication online and Twitter and things.
Hmm.
So when Troy was leaving, you could see that was notably going to cause a big divide, like
Hmm.
because people were already fans of Troy, they'd come to the channel from being a fan of Troy,
Yeah.
and then they have left the channel from being a fan of Troy,
Yeah, because
which
they were
is
there for Troy.
exactly. So, I mean, big change, but I think they've done extremely well. We've got amazing content since,
Oh, absolutely.
especially given the whole freaking quarantine
Mm.
thing happening. Like we've had the Uncharted playthrough, the Uncharted cast reunion, Uncharted 3 cast reunion, which blew my mind. That is definitely one of my top moments, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love that. I thought that was fucking amazing to get everybody in on Zoom. Feel so jealous of Drew to be involved in that conversation.
Like, you're in a
Um,
Zoom chat with some of like the most talented people to come together for a project like Uncharted. Not to mention just being able to talk to everyone else. That's a big part of Uncharted and having that experience. Like, you're right, that was definitely one of the coolest things that I still think wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for COVID and lockdown. So
yeah, for sure.
in that way, it's special, I think.
I think so too. I think like having that constraints, I mean, like, how are we going to work this? I think it worked really well, especially
Mm,
with the initial episode of the cast reuniting with Amy Hennig. Um, that was just such a special episode. And I think, um, I definitely, yeah, I don't think they would have approached it in the same way because they wouldn't have had to get everybody into the studio,
mm-hmm.
even if COVID wasn't there. So the fact that they all could Zoom in and it was just a normal thing at that time because
Yeah.
COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it works really well.
Well, you got to imagine too that a lot of those people would have been much more busy traveling, doing
Yes.
projects. They wouldn't have been available all to come together for one thing like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think that the lockdown and COVID allowed for this unique situation for everyone to be able to come together and be a part of this.
Yeah, for
But yeah.
sure. And it was a really enjoyable time watching the Uncharted 3 playthrough with Richard as well. Like
Mm,
Nolan and Richard doing it together and then having guests in. I thought it was a really great way to continue the content. And like I think you really do have to commend Retro Replay for their creativity and I guess their like dedication to the channel because their studio was shut down. The whole country basically
mm,
shut down, and a lot of people would just crumble under that kind of like pressure. But they put creative heads together and came up with something amazing, and I think everybody really, really enjoyed it.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
having Richard on the show was just something special.
If you look at my notes for like some of my favorite things to come from level 3, I put Richard McGonagall, Richard McGonagall, Richard McGonagall. The fact that we got to
The
enjoy like
Richards.
an entire like series of shows with him present and just
Hmm.
him being him, I think is a in itself like a
Yeah,
great special thing. And I will say that many times that there were special things.
special things.
Special.
No, I think definitely one of the highlights for sure. In terms of like top moments of level 3, Richard McGonagall is definitely up
Yeah.
there.
Like we all want to adopt him as our grandfather now.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We were on his cameo page recently and like all of his like preview cameo thumbnails are all the same because it's just the same face that he has
Mm,
like when he's about to say something and it's in all of the thumbnails just in different outfits and different locations and it's so adorable.
mm,
I can't. He's so cute. Um, other notable changes soon after that was the memberships revamping, memberships 2.0, which now included things like Zoom hangs
mm,
with the crew and the cast, which I think is such a great addition as well. These are for specifically for Drew Soup and Altered Beast members too,
mm-hmm.
so that if somebody does want to support the channel for I think 24.99 a month and then 49.99 a month, is that right?
Yeah, like
I should
25
know.
and $50, I believe,
Yeah.
states
So it's
wise.
yeah, that's the same in euro,
Yeah.
I think. Um so yeah, so for like 25 or $50 a month, like if you wanted to contribute to the channel and support the channel, then what
Mm-hmm.
they're giving back to you is literally time in a group with other individuals of your your membership tier,
Yeah.
and then with Nolan and with Liam and Todd and then the crew, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is valuable information, especially for the creatives in the community as well, who want to ask more questions about projects that they were involved with audio, with editing. Um, so I really enjoyed those two editions in
Mm-hmm.
particular. For me, is something that I thought was really great, and the membership pin.
Yeah.
I think the membership pin is such a great way to commemorate a 12-month anniversary as a member of Retro Replay YouTube channel. And we send it out to you in the post. Such a gorgeous little pin, and it has really kicked off really well with the members. So I think
Oh, for
that was
sure.
definitely one of the highlights for membership
And
perks
that
for me this year.
I can say too that that's for anyone who's been a member for a year, like on any
Hmm.
level. It doesn't matter what level. So like even just me kicking in my $5 a month that I've done for, a year, I got that cool little pin. So
Yeah.
obviously I like to support the channel. I like to provide them with something because I appreciate the content. I like all the work that they're doing and the content that they're providing me. But then I got that little pin and it's like, all right, cool. They're giving me
Yeah.
something for my time and money essentially besides all the other stuff they're already giving me.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. I think like it's a really nice touch as well as the content. Like the
mm,
content is all free and accessible on YouTube, and then we get those nice small little perks of either the zooms or the competitions or
hmm
the holiday card, which also went off such like so well this year. Um, and then of course the pin. I think that was like in terms of memberships, that was definitely a highlight for me to see that they were revamped and that they had really
yeah,
considered what happened with members and their feelings towards what the perks were at that moment.
yeah,
And obviously there was a lot of perks that we couldn't offer after COVID, like live show
yeah.
tickets and stuff like that as well, because of COVID, everything was canceled. So
Yeah, and to give them a shout as far as the like changes and accommodations they made for membership perks, because we had talked about membership perks back in what was it, March or April when they
yeah,
revamped them
when they
originally
yeah.
because of lockdown, because of COVID. They had a lot of people were asking about like, what about the events? What about cons? Like all these things that were tied into the events, that came along with membership perks. But obviously, we can't do that now. So they've adjusted it to be more virtual or digital experiences,
Yes.
to include everything that you were just mentioning. So I think they did a really good job to still provide something similar to what they had originally promised. Just they
Hmm.
can't do it with lockdown and everything, and they're not doing
Yeah,
live shows anymore. So
exactly. Good workaround. Good workaround.
yeah,
And I think it paid off really well. So that was definitely a highlight for me regarding members last year.
yeah,
Um,
good stuff.
Shortly after that was another highlight from members, I think, in the community because of we got to play Uncharted 4 multiplayer live with Nolan and Cooper,
Who
with
got to
some of the
play?
members. Huh?
Who got to
Who
play?
got to play?
Who?
Uh some kids.
Some kids.
Some nobodies, to quote the YouTube quote.
Some nobodies,
Yeah, there's a YouTube comment and it was like, I didn't pay to watch these nobodies. And I was like, who you call nobody, buddy? Poor Nolan's up there working his ass off.
right?
Right?
Nolan is doing his damnedest not to die playing some Uncharted
Yeah.
multiplayer
No, it
with
was good.
us.
It was really, really entertaining. And I liked the fact that there were members up there. Obviously it was yourself, myself, Grace, and Tina,
Hmm
TCAV, which have been like avid members of the community for a very long time. And I thought it was just a really nice touch for them to want to involve us. I think
Yeah,
that
for
was
sure.
really a great idea. I would love to see more of that in the future, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought it was a hit. I thought it was a really great event for both the podcast in 2020 as well as the show and Retro Replay in
hmm
2020. I think like that was a big moment for both of us at the moment.
Oh my God, for sure. And obviously, the big thing for me was that was my first time meeting Nolan, like personally, like actually meeting Nolan.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I never met Nolan before.
How did I not know? Well, I'm sure I did actually
We've
know it, but
talked
it's really
about it
just
at
clicking
least
now.
where
Yeah.
like because in the previous episodes, like in the past, I had talked about how I look forward to meeting Troy and Nolan. I'm like, I'm looking forward to either trying to go to this con or that con. And I was actually asking them constantly about if they were going to go to Chicago because I was looking at going
Mhm.
to the Chicago con that was supposed to happen last year. And they didn't really give me an answer for a while. And then they finally said, nope, we're not going to that. And I was like, ah, crap. But then I moved to Texas and it was like, oh, are you guys going to RTX? But then they left Rooster Teeth and it was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So up until that
Yeah.
point, I still had never met Troy or Nolan. And that was my first face to face, I mean, virtually, but face to face with Nolan, talking to him directly, him meeting me, knowing who I am, like name to face kind of thing. So that was a big part of that alone. And then to add on top of that, playing his game with him and us doing Arnold impersonations together.
Yeah.
So
I think like I
definitely,
mean it's a highlight.
it's definitely a highlight for my year.
Yeah, for sure.
hmm
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good. It was like just a really chill episode. Cooper killed it too. Cooper was really good in that episode too. So
Yeah. That was
yeah, I really
Cooper's
enjoyed that.
first time on camera.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, that was Cooper's first time
going
because then it
live.
was, I mean, he was there for quarantine with
Yeah.
Nolan, live
Hmm.
from Nolan's house. And then we got Father Knows Best
And then we
after
got
that.
Father Knows Best. Yeah, that's where they announced Father Knows Best was coming,
Yeah.
and they were playing Star Wars, Lego Star Wars.
Mhm.
Um, and I think like that became their Monday. That became their Monday show,
Mm.
which used to be their playthroughs, obviously, and then now it's Father Knows Best. And I thought it was such a great addition to their roster of entertainment.
Mhm.
Nolan in this, it's different. It was really nice to see Nolan in a different light, in the dad light, you know.
Yeah.
Um, the dad trying to embarrass his kid all the time. I think it was so
Constantly.
relatable. Yeah.
Well,
It was
because you
just
either
really
related
relatable.
to Cooper dealing with the embarrassing parent, or you related to Nolan being the parent embarrassing his kid. So
Yeah.
I think that it worked for someone in some level watching that
Hmm.
show, and that was
Yeah.
also another. They found a way to create fun, entertaining content around the limitations of COVID and lockdown.
Hmm.
Again,
Yeah. Exactly. Because I mean, they had minimal staff. They like
mm,
Cooper and Nolan were from the same household, so they weren't breaking any rules or anything. So it worked really well. And again, they just came together creatively to make content for viewers. I
yeah,
thought it was really good because the Lego games in general are always great crack to play as a family, and they're not too serious.
mm.
So anytime there was like rage moments or like funny moments, like Mr. Bear and everything, I just think it paved the way for that kind of stuff. Like if they had been playing another game, it might have been a little bit too game focused.
Mm.
But I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the mix up between the two of them, the dynamic between them.
Yeah, they had a special rapport between the two that just it made it wholesome, but yet that unique Nolan filthiness, I guess. Especially with all the like
Yeah,
Yamadas kind of thing happening there, and
yeah.
makes Cooper like, oh,
Feels. I kind of love that shit though. I think like when when Nolan's doing that and he's trying to embarrass Cooper, it's definitely more relatable to me because my dad's so like that as well.
mm.
Yeah, I
Your
enjoyed that
dad just
though.
turns into Uncle Sal and does a
100. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the wispy
Yeah. It's
laugh.
gross, honestly. Yeah. I'd rather not be in the room. um. Yeah, I thought it was a really great addition as well, and that was a big change, like because Nolan was now left without, I guess, like the partner on the couch,
Yeah.
and Cooper was the first to sort of, I guess, be seen in the studio with
Mm.
Nolan as almost like a counterpart, which is cool.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that dynamic. I'd love
And
to see
they,
them play more like VR games though. Like
yeah, like if they brought Cooper
like
back for
Nolan and
that.
Cooper. I would
Mm.
love to. And I think like at the time a lot of people were saying that as well because I think I'm pretty sure Nolan mentions it in an episode and was like, "Oh, we've got to get him to do VR or something."
Yeah, I think you're
Uh
right. And
yeah,
I remember
that'd be really
thinking
cool.
we were saying the same thing too. Like it'd be cool if they went back to the VR with Cooper,
Yeah.
and tried out some new things together with the
Yeah.
two of them.
Definitely sure
And
they mentioned that in the video. Dirty jokes. Speaking of dirty jokes and uncomfortable insinuations, Uncle Noli got his own segment on Tuesdays, which is great. The advice from Uncle Noli segments that run, and they were quite small segments as well, like eight
hmm
to 10 minute episodes, which I thought was a good idea. Just something small after the
little bite
Father Knows
sizes.
Best, yeah, episodes finished because I think Father Knows Best was between like 40 minutes, right? 40 and 50 minutes.
Yeah, roughly 40 to an hour, I believe.
Ah,
I
okay,
think some episodes did run an hour.
okay, yeah. Yeah, Uncle Noli got his own segment. And I think like they really like if you look back at the year of 2020 or level 3 for Retro Replay, they churned out some fucking content.
Oh yeah, for sure. I even recapping for this episode and looking at everything that's come out over the course of the year, it's like, holy hell, they actually put out a lot between like
Hmm.
proper episodes, Father Knows Best, the uh like Quarantine, Uncharted, like there's a lot of content that they put out. Like, holy hell.
Yeah.
2 to 3 videos, if not more, a week,
Yeah.
for several weeks
Hmm.
straight.
Hmm. for sure. And they were then adding Get Good in on the mix as well with Liam
Mm,
and Todd, Liam McIntyre and Todd Lassance, which was I think really interesting because now this was going to be on a Saturday, so it was I guess a weekend show, and it's
mm,
live for 3 hours, which is not great for Euro time because Euro time is like 1 a.m. to 4 a.m.
yeah.
Um, but in I think everywhere else it worked really well. In Australia, I think it was like 12 till 3, and then in the US, I think it's PST 5 p.m. till 9 or 5 p.m. till 8
Yeah,
p.m.
for PST.
PST. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost
What's
like a
it? What
prime
is it at your
time.
time?
I think it's usually 7 here, 7 p.m.
Oh, that's not bad though.
Yeah, if it's 5 PST, it's 7 CST.
7. Okay. Yeah. That's a great addition too. I think Get Good was probably one of their most non-retro replay styled content addition to their
Mm,
roster, if you know what I mean. Like
mm-hmm.
these were like they're two amazing actors, very funny and like such a great fit for the show. But here they are doing 3 hours of live content, and usually the gameplay is quite current.
Mm-hmm.
So Call of Duty or Fall Guys or something. So like games that are actually current in I guess the pop
Yeah.
culture now. Um which I think is a departure from what they were like, I guess, originally known for on a retro replay channel. But I thought it was a welcome change. I quite like the fact that there is a show on the channel now that they're exploring new games.
Yeah, and they're hitting the other side of the totem, I guess, as far as like
Yeah.
with the show proper, it was always about the retro games, the old school games, the reminiscence, and talking about the comparison of like, this is how games used to be, to now you have more modern games that people are talking about, in the pop culture around video games. So I think that better fits that niche. So
Hmm.
as much as some people will watch Get Good and be like, "Oh, this isn't retro replay," and it's like it's not really supposed to be. It's supposed to be the other end of the
Yeah,
stick. It's
for
supposed to
sure.
fill those people who come to retro replay and think this is too old school. This is too old games. I'm not here for this. I want to watch people play Call of Duty. They'll watch Get Good.
Hmm.
So it kind of
Yes.
fills that other side of things.
Hmm. I do also think like there was more of a demand to do live
Mm.
shows, which we also did see throughout COVID as well. We got like the reacting to artwork as well, which was really cool. That was a live
Oh, right, right.
episode from Nolan.
Hmm.
There's also when they originally got the Uncharted exclusive content photos that was like premiered on the Retro Replay channel. Um, that episode was completely live as well, and they were like doing that, and they were doing an art book, right? And then Nolan was
Mm.
flicking through this art book and this photography book that was like collector's edition. That's like $400 or something like that
Oh, the
online now.
Uncharted one, yeah.
Yeah. Um so I thought that was really interesting. So this whole demand for a live segment really played well for Get Good as well, for like the 3 hour live on a Saturday to play concurrent
Yeah.
games.
And
Yeah.
those being live opens up the possibilities for the things that I know they were hoping to do. And Get Good's been getting some guests in, and I know there's like the competitions they're trying to get replayers to actually come and play and Get Good with Liam and
Hmm.
Todd, which is something that they can't do in the pre-recorded retro replay like
Yeah.
they want to right now, at least.
Yeah.
So,
For sure. And I think because of like the gameplay that they're playing, I guess with Get Good, like it's I guess more accessible for replayers because like
mm,
Among Us or Fall Guys or Valorant, even though that was a terrible
the
disaster.
one
If you don't know what
time,
I'm talking about, go watch that episode. But you know what I mean? Like those games that are multiplayer online, that is, I guess, more easily accessible for replayers
yeah.
to join in on.
Well, yeah,
It's
it'd
kind
be
of
so
cool.
much easier for someone to jump into a match of like Warzone with Liam and Todd. You can't
Yes.
jump into a match of Sonic the Hedgehog or something
Yeah.
with Nolan.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, with retro replay proper though, the actual episode content that they're doing now, I did appreciate how they've changed it for COVID. Which is again another big change for, oh god, I keep hitting my mic.
Watch out.
Which is another big change for level 3. Was like now they're zooming in guests, which I think works really well for them. Also in terms of the retro replay podcast, which airs every Friday, because now we were getting like Nolan's interviewing a guest, a voiceover actor, and you get the full length conversation on podcast, and I think they are just gold. So I thought that was like a really good change up. And the games now were not as retro as we were all kind of expecting. Like they played the new Crash,
Mm-hmm.
they played Walking Dead. So like the Telltale game Walking Dead. So I really like this change up. I'm kind of loving that it's like not always super retro. Some games are retro and I think that's great. But then if there's like a modern version or a counterpart or something that they have touched on, like the newest Crash Bandicoot, for example, I really enjoy that about the show now. I really like that change up.
Yeah.
What do you think? Would you prefer like just a show that's fully retro?
Well, to piggyback on what you said, I like when they will do like the comparison where they'll play a
Okay.
new version of an old game, which they did a little bit in previous like older episodes.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of let's play the old version and the new version for the comparison, and we'll bring in a guest who may or may not had some involvement with that, or at least in
Hmm.
some aspect. Like Ross Marquand wasn't in the game, but he was in the show.
The show. Yeah.
So that made it interesting for him to come on and be a guest for that episode. I'm okay with them branching out into some of the newer stuff, especially if it's in a certain positive light. Like the Crash 4 video, I thought was really
Hmm.
good. And they brought in Jess Harnell, talked to him, and how he has been a huge part of voice acting over, 20, maybe 30
Yeah.
years at this point. And to me, that kind of like pushes it and makes it more acceptable at
Hmm.
that point. Whereas I do prefer it to be more the retro side of it, but I'm okay with the experimentation and expansion
Hmm.
as long as they don't go too hard into
Yeah.
strictly like let's play new games. Not to mention, I think they're in like a sweet spot for Nolan right now, playing like PS2, PS3 generation games
Yes. Yeah.
because we've all seen what happened with like Call of Duty and the more advanced games that kind of break Nolan a little
Yeah.
bit.
I I agree with you, but I can't lie. That Fall Guys rage quit was
Mm.
just
But think about this. Fall Guys is very simple.
yeah.
Fall Guys is
Yeah.
very simple. It's a very
It's
basic
modern though, and
premise.
it is like frustrating as hell. And I really enjoy watching that. I know I'm so cruel, honestly. I'm just like I like watching Nolan
Who
suffer.
doesn't love watching Nolan suffer though?
Yeah. I say more rage quits. Like let's
All the
get him to
rage
play
quits.
something else, like Bloodborne or something. Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you in one sense. I think like the retro theme vibe for me was more like when they started it, it seemed like these are games that Troy remembers playing and Nolan's never played them before. Let's introduce Nolan. Whereas now I feel like the angle is so open because Nolan doesn't play video games
Yeah.
regularly. I guess maybe not, maybe now he does, but um this like opened up a whole new world now. It's been like, well, Nolan could literally pick up anything because he hasn't played it. You
Yeah,
can
and
be
he
sure that he
always has
probably hasn't.
a fresh perspective on it, especially like when he played
Yes.
Spider-Man. Like
Yes.
he had no like experience with Spider-Man prior to that other than the original
That Spider-Man
Spider-Man,
episode.
that
Yeah.
Spider-Man. We all know that Spider-Man. And then you've got the addition of Drew being kind of like
Yes.
the angel on his wing, maybe kind of thing, like angel on the shoulder. Like just Drew has got that unique perspective of he's either got a history with the game they're playing or
Hmm.
he's got enough perspective of like, man, like this is a crazy game that came out on the PS2 I never knew about or something, and he can give
Yeah.
that kind of insight to it that Nolan has no clue, but he just can fill us with those little factoids or information. He's got that gamer perspective that Nolan doesn't have to be able to talk to us, talk to
Yeah.
Nolan, but talk to us as the gamers who are watching too.
Hmm. I also agree. I think the addition of having Drew more vocal on the show really helps out. I think a lot of people really loved hearing Drew's like tidbit
Mm,
I guess instructions throughout like all of the Uncharted playthroughs or all of the Last of Us playthroughs. Um I really enjoy that they've made him like more of a character on the show
mm.
now and that Nolan bounces off him for topics and tangents and as well as gameplay. I think it's really great.
I can still remember
It's a good
a
addition.
while back actually counting how many times I could hear Drew off camera just giggling to himself. And it was like, oh, I heard Drew. I heard a Drew. But now he's actually like incorporated into the show. And I
Yeah.
love when Nolan does or says something that makes Drew just like he just
Yeah,
starts
die.
going. Those are the
Yeah,
best.
yeah. I think like Drew is often like because Nolan is gold, and I think Nolan is just so is such a performer,
Mm,
and he's just hilarious. And I think anytime that he would make Drew laugh, you can be assured that the audience is probably laughing as well. So Drew's almost like a literal representation of us, just off camera.
yeah.
And that's probably why I really like him off camera as well. I don't think it probably would have worked as well had he been on camera. No offense, Drew. You're beautiful and all, but face for radio.
We all want to see that
Um,
beard, but I get what you're
yeah,
saying.
but no, but I really appreciate that he's off camera and that it just feels more like a representation of who we are and the replayers. And if it's funny for Drew, it's gonna be funny for us. So
Hmm.
yeah, I really enjoyed that piece.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
big
then I guess like
changes.
yeah, those are some big changes for
Well, yeah,
2020
because
for level 3.
I mean, you're incorporated into the show now, doing some of the footwork or leg work, I should say, for the show,
Mm-hmm.
and being a part of the replayer feud that they've been doing for the last couple of months. So now
Yeah.
we've got, talking with Drew between Nolan and Drew in the beginning, the topics and tangents, which then usually rolls into gameplay, which then goes into the interview, which then rolls
Mm-hmm.
into replayer feud. So you've got this whole new dynamic of how the show flows and feels compared to how it
What it
was.
was.
So it's different and not in a bad way for sure. It's just very different now. And I think they can only continue to grow and expand on that.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed it. Like I couldn't believe that they wanted to do like a replayer feud, like a game
Mm,
show and everything. So I was so excited when that happened. I think it's really great to see the community up there. People who are interested in doing it, people who've
mm,
like signed up to do it, that want to be on the show. I just think that it's such a great addition, and I really appreciate a channel that looks after the community members so well
yeah.
as Retro Replay does.
And that's something that the community's been asking for a long time is how
Hmm.
can we get more involved or how can we have something
Yeah.
somewhere on this show, and they've given it to us
Hmm.
where people can just come on and play this game with Nolan so they can have a few minutes of time like on screen, much like we kind
Yeah.
of had with the Uncharted play.
Yeah.
So
And try to play through, well, the multiplayer.
yeah.
Um, yeah. I would
And ours
agree.
was a glitchy, laggy mess that broke YouTube. So at least you guys get to do a pre-recorded
Yeah.
session with Nolan.
I know, but shout out to Paul and Drew for pulling that bloody audio sync off. Oh my god, it was down to the wire when they did that. So
Hmm.
well done, guys. Um, yeah, no, I think like really big moments for Retro Replay last year. We had amazing moments for our show as well for the Replayer podcast. Obviously, we were involved in the Uncharted playthrough.
Hmm.
We got a voicemail from Drew, and then that led to Drew, and then concurrently Stephanie to come back on the show.
Hmm.
Um, it's been a good year. You're working on the website. You now produce content for the Retro Replay Show website. It's www.retroreplayshow.com.
We're
Um,
on the website.
we're on the website. Like the
Yeah.
podcast is now hosted on the website, and it's just like it's been a crazy year. Like
As
for 2020,
yeah.
like being like COVID sucks. Everything else has kind of been great,
I was just gonna say pretty much in the same light that as shitty as 2020 was, it was
right?
pretty big for Retro Replay, for us in the podcast, and just I think Retro Replay community in general. You
Yeah.
know, so everything you were just saying, like some good stuff, some
Some good
really
stuff happened. I'm
good
looking
stuff.
forward to 2021.
Yeah.
Um, if you had to pick like a favorite moment out of last year, what would it have been? Podcast or retro replay related?
Mm. Oh man. I mean, now that I was already
There's
talking
just so
about them,
many.
meeting Nolan was kind of like, meeting Nolan and playing with Nolan was pretty good. Uh,
Yeah.
the I'll say this:
Okay.
getting the first message from Drew and him telling us he listened to the podcast. I'll say that was my favorite moment because that was when we went, "Oh shit!" Like
Yeah. I remember getting a message from you being like, Drew just left us a voicemail. I was like, wait, what?
Like,
I
huh?
didn't believe you. And then like you sent it through and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Like, how cool.
because there was no prior like communication with him to that point, and we were doing the voicemails as just a thing for our listeners of, so you want to
Yeah.
send us a voicemail and we can play it on the show, and then of all people, fucking Drew sends us a voicemail saying like, "Hey guys, what's up?" You know, like
Yeah.
so.
That was the dream though. And like, I mean, I think like myself and Dan, you know, just to the audience, we've always kind of like, this is where we wanted to go with like this show. We wanted to make a show by replayers for replayers to discuss retro replay in just an open space that like we can all bring our different perspectives to, and like let's just sit down and talk about games and nerd out about retro replay.
Mhm.
And then like the show we make our show about has like acknowledged our existence. So we lost our damn minds, okay?
A little bit.
Like little bit. Yeah, that was a sick moment.
Yeah.
Can't lie. Can't lie.
And I think if that's any insight to anyone out there listening to the show, that there was a point in time where we didn't know Drew, and it was like, oh my God, Drew's talking to us, you know, and now we're like, you work with him specifically for the
Oh
show.
yeah.
I work with him for the website. Like,
It's incredible. Honestly, I think like I would not have believed you if 2 years ago, like when I was watching, is it 2 years ago? Oh my God, maybe, yeah, 2 years ago, 2019.
mm,
We're in 2021 now.
yeah,
2 years ago, like I was at like Comic-Con and Troy was talking about retro replay. If you had told me that this is where I would be now, be like an
mm,
intern, podcast host, um, like I don't know what I would have said to you. I would have been
like
like, yeah, sure.
if you had said that to
Okay.
me
I'll just
2 years
start a
ago,
podcast with someone I've never met.
I would have looked at you like, I don't even listen to podcasts. What are you talking about?
Yeah. It was so mad. Like the turnaround with this has been crazy, but I think like we persevered through a lot.
Mm,
And a lot of shit has happened personally for both of us in the last 2 years, a year and a half that we've been going. Um, so yeah, I just think like I'm super grateful to have this.
mm.
Um, like the Replayer podcast first and foremost, like is our creative child.
Baby.
This is our baby. And like we put a lot into it, man. And like I'm pretty proud of where we've come and how we got here and who we are.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And like you said, like the idea that this came from us just shooting the shit one day, getting to know each other, and just like here we are pursuing a path of like a lifestyle that was literally something we talked about when we first met each other, of like where we wanted to go with our lives. And to
Yeah.
think that that idea has brought us this far in that time is a little unbelievable.
Right.
So
Just
thank
a
you,
little.
Retro Replay.
Yes. Holy shit. Yes. Thank you, Retro Replay. Thank you, Drew, Paul, PJ, Steph, uh, everybody, Anthony.
Yeah.
uh, like literally, thank you guys so much for everything, love and support, and like actually acknowledging our show's existence. That's pretty nice, and for not firing me. It's also really nice, Drew. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited for 2021. I'm not gonna lie. I think like it can only get better, right? Like COVID sucked last
Yeah.
year. So hopefully this year can only get better and we're only on the way up.
Yeah.
Podcast, retro replay content globally in terms of health. Hopefully we're all on up in 2021.
Yeah. So here's looking forward to 2021 and new and bigger things for us and the podcast, new and bigger things for Retro Replay. And we've got some thoughts, we've got some ideas, things that we want to try to do going
Mm-hmm.
forward. And I know we're looking forward to having Drew rejoin us in the future
Yep.
next week, I believe, and
Mm-hmm.
talk about hopefully some, give us our own version of the Uncharted sneak peeks to what we can expect for Retro Replay.
Yeah.
I'm sure in Drew's usual fashion, it'll be very short and very vague.
but also quite specific.
Yes. So
Yeah.
anyone listening to this, you can look forward to that. We're gonna have Drew back on the show to kind of give us a little bit of insight into what to expect from Retro Replay when they return in a few short weeks.
Yes, in a few short weeks, hopefully. I don't think they have a date set down right now.
Mhm.
But yeah, Drew will be on the show to discuss obviously what we can look forward to with Retro Replay in 2021, as you said, Dan, as well as give us a little bit of insight on to the website and its content
Mhm.
and how potentially you as a creator can be involved. So
Yeah.
feel free to tune in next time.
And if I can add on to that, we will also be
Mm.
having the site content managers, curators, Stephanie Watson and Brandy Brown on the show with us, and they will be speaking specifically about that. So
Oh, great.
for those who will be interested in having any involvement with the website or wanting to be a contributor, hopefully that's a question we can answer on that episode,
Excellent.
and they will be the ones to talk to.
Awesome. Perfect.
Mm.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to our recap for 2020 or level 3 on the Retro Replay show here on the Replayer podcast. Again, my name is Pagan. That is Dan. You can find me
Dan.
over on Twitter at Pagan Plays or on Instagram at Pagan_plays and Twitch at Pagan_plays. And Dan, we can find you at
I am Stark Evash on Twitter because, and I am Stark Evil Vash on just about every other platform. If you want to come check us out on Twitch and watch some Twitch streams, yeah, and
we'll
I've been.
link all of that below.
It's always linked in the show notes.
It's always linked. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And if you guys have any questions for Retro Replay show membership wise, you can send it over to members at retroreplayshow.com. And if you have questions for Retro Replay and you want us to send it to them, we can do that via the podcast in our like replayer questionnaire segment that we usually run on our show. So feel free to send us in those questions to the replayerpodcast at gmail.com. Cool.
Awesome.
Peace out.
Game
Looking forward to
over.
next year, guys. Game over. Bye.